All right, we're live. Welcome to the Eric Tries Too Hard podcast. This week we have Doug Max. How are you doing, Doug?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I want to apologize to you on air for being late. As I explained, I have a newborn, and apparently that takes time from your schedule. I didn't realize this when I went into it.
You didn't have an idea kids were going to take time?
No.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, no.
Oh, boy.
I thought if I reasoned with it,
Buckle in.
I thought if I reasoned
Buckle
with
in.
it, yeah. I could tell it, I have got podcasts scheduled. Can you make sure that I get enough sleep tonight? But that's apparently not a thing, but that's okay. You had said,
So,
yeah.
so tell me about your newborn.
God, you're a good
How old
interviewer.
is-
Yeah, so she's doing great except last night.
What did she do last night? Kept you
Just,
up?
yeah. Well,
How old is she?
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Actually, corrections. She didn't keep me up. She kept my wife up, who decided to keep me up because she didn't go back to sleep. But
It's called co-parenting.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and another
So,
thing, I didn't think it was a partnership. I thought this was like a timeshare. So that was my bad as well.
oh,
So when you
you
had
can work on it.
yeah. So when you had texted me back, and I appreciate you saying no worries to my lateness. I very much appreciate that. But you also said I remember the days. Do you have kids yourself?
I have two boys, 19 and 21.
Oh wow.
So I'm ahead of you. I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, a little bit. So okay. So when did you start doing stand up?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. See, I
Yeah.
watched the one I had to do some digging, but I found a nice solid 8 minute clip of you doing stand up on YouTube, and
Uh-oh.
I loved that the audience was very couldn't really tell just from looking at them, but from the I guess the sound of their voices, they sounded younger. Um, and you came at them at the beginning when I don't know if things weren't going the way you wanted them to. Not like you hadn't even told the joke yet. You were just kind of getting the crowd under control. You talked to them like a dad, and that seemed to work pretty well.
What set was this? I'm trying to find.
I'm
You know,
seeing
I
some,
tried to
yeah,
I tried to eliminate some of them, the early
yeah,
stuff, even though they were great, because I had friends saying, "Oh, you do racist humor, you." Anyway, they
yeah.
totally misunderstood. I figured I didn't want to risk anything, so I tried to make it so that only one was visible,
Yeah, well,
but.
the one I'm seeing, it says D Max Stand Up Comedy 2.3 GP from 2012.
Uh-oh. Okay, that's going way back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going way back. Yeah, so that
It was
was,
good. I liked it. But
yeah,
you came at it was
thank
great
you.
because they were still kind of rowdy between sets, and you kind of came at them just like I'd have to rewind to get word for word, but like fantastic. You just settle down. Like, hey, can you excuse me, young man who said that? Excuse me. Yeah, it was perfect, and the crowd ate it up. I was gonna ask if you kind of use your personal experience of being a dad and frankly an adult in
Oh,
your stand up.
well, you don't know me. You don't know me that well, but
Well, then you talked about
no,
yeah,
I use everything. Listen, I'm old. I'm 58, so I go. I'm ahead of you. You know, so I use everything.
yeah,
Um, I've been a stand-up trainer. I've done corporate training for since 1980, 83.
mm-hmm.
So 30 years I've been standing up in front of totally random people, teaching them about business writing and presentation skills. So, getting up in front of an audience and bullshitting is something I do professionally. So,
Yeah, exactly.
it meshed in very well.
That's perfect. Yeah. What made you
Yeah.
have? And we'll go back and everything. But what made you have that moment where you decided to do stand up? Because that always seems to be a huge moment for comics when they're just something.
Well,
Yeah.
I know the day well, but can I stop since I
Yeah.
don't know you?
Oh
So
yeah.
so you do stand-up comedy?
Nope.
You've got it. You
Mm.
don't. What do you
No.
do?
In the real world, I'm a therapist, so I talk to people. So this
Okay.
is a more natural fit than stand up for me. But as far as artistically, I've been doing music for about 12 years, and that never. Well, it was weird. I would say that never panned out. Obviously, it didn't because I'm not on the goddamn radio or anything. But when when I started to get a reasonable amount of success, that's when I kind of realized, oh, this isn't really what I want to be doing. And so this is not the pipe dream I had in mind. So I had to break everything down and figure out what I
Yeah.
enjoy about art and what I enjoy about life before I wanted to figure out what I wanted to pursue next.
Okay. So that process, I guess. You're doing the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I
Nice.
kind of, yeah. Hmm.
So who all do you talk to in your podcasts? Is it
Started,
only?
yeah. Mhm.
Sorry.
No, there's like on these hangouts, there's like a little less than a half-second delay, and so if people talk over each other by accident far more often, it's very common. But yeah, I started with musicians. I did it all in person. Started with musicians, then they kept being flaky, scheduling sucked, and then people couldn't even like retweet or like reblog something something that they went to someone's house and did an hour of material on, and then turned out musicians are also not inherently interesting. So then I was thinking about why I started the podcast, which was like I
Keep that going.
rediscovered my love of stand up. I've always been obsessed with stand up forever. Every time I
Yeah.
tell somebody the story of how obsessed I am with stand up and when I got into it, everyone's like, "Well, why did you do that and not why did you do music and not that?" And I was like, "Yeah, shit, I guess I missed that boat for my like hobby growing up." Granted, you started it 3 years ago, so apparently no one can miss the boat. I think you're definitely proof of that. You can join whenever you damn well please. But
Yeah.
like, but what I really, really, truly enjoy is creating things. Like I'll still make music, and my band is still doing pretty
So what
good.
do
But
you
we're
play? What instrument do you play?
I'm really good at bass. That's the only instrument I'll ever claim to be good at. But for the last couple of years, I've been playing guitar in my band because when we were trying to find guitarists, I was originally going to play bass. I would write the songs, and then somebody would come in, and by that point, I knew the songs on rhythm guitar better than they did. So I'm like, okay, you play bass. Then we were looking for a lead guitarist. I had been practicing the lead so often. By the time we were good to hire somebody else to play guitar, I was like, oh well, I'll just play the leads. You can play bass, or you can play guitar. So at this point, I've just been playing lead guitar in my band for past couple years, and at some point, I got good
Hey,
enough to actually fake it. Like I couldn't play guitar in any other band.
can
Like
I
I
tell you
should.
something? You
Yeah,
know,
but
it was reputed that the Beatles starting off, that they were not that talented. I think George was classically trained, so I think he was a really good guitarist.
yeah.
But the rest of them were kind of, and I've been listening to a lot of music, and some of it is very, very simple. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's and the good stuff. It's 4 or 5 notes that resonate with people. I've been listening. I rediscovered REM.
Yeah.
Losing My Religion, and
Mhm.
there have been like 5 days last week. I've listened to it 100 times.
Wow.
I,
Yeah.
I'm waiting to get my saxophone back. It's getting refurbished,
Oh,
so I'm
nice.
waiting to get it back. And I'll play 4 or 5 notes, turn up the volume really loud. I sound great, but nobody else is listening. It's 4 or 5 notes, but to me, it's good, and
Yeah.
it's also good breathing exercise.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely that actually. I don't think it was necessarily your point, but it intrigues me the idea of you're playing 4 to 5 notes and something so simple, something that no one else is hearing, but something that in your ear sounds so amazing. And that's kind of how I view podcasting, because podcasting are kind of the best podcasts I think are the conversations that would have happened anyway, and true intrigue and curiosity into somebody else's life or just a conversation in general.
I agree.
And so it was just like when I was trying to I remember thinking in my life, I was like, how do I string together, in the last probably 2 or 3 years I've been thinking, it's like, how do I identify strengths that I have in an artistic field and string those meager, spaced out things together to try to make something that's a product people actually
Hang on.
want.
I didn't hear 2 of your words. That's number one. And number two, you've got to do me a favor and move that empty cardboard box because it's bothering me. The balloons are nice, but you got to move. It's slowly destroying. We're doing a professional conversation, and you got to can I say effing box
Yeah, you
behind
can
you?
say effing.
Like, move it to the side. Get out of the screen.
All right, hold on 1 second. Let me move that my child's stroller box for you. Hold
Yeah,
on.
thank you. Thank you. Oh, great. Now you have.
I just want to make sure everything is professional enough for you.
No, it isn't. Look, now you got rid of one box, and now I see 4 or 5 things back there. Easter basket is fine.
It's an
Okay,
Easter
that's
basket
fine. But whatever it is, the birthday basket.
with green things in it. Oh man, sorry. My
I'm
dad's
sorry
on the
too.
podcast. No, I'm sure sorry too.
My guy, I have buddies that are comics. They're like late 30s, 40, and I hang with them, and so I pretend to be their father. We've been to a few places, and I'm like, kids, and I'm old enough to be their father. It's funny, and it's funny because you say you're a therapist. I didn't ask. Physical, psychological.
Psychological. Yeah.
Okay, my ex did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you had to leave. Yeah.
I'm deaf in neither. I would have made it longer if I was deaf in both.
Yeah. There is a high correlation between
Never mind.
people who go into a field. Yeah, I don't care. People who go into a field. You're not in my house. You can smoke. You're not. A lot of people go into a field because of some relation with that field. And
That's what they
in
say.
Psychology. There's like the amount of I tend to specialize in anxiety and depression, and anxiety stuff is also highly tied into attention problems. And my history of anxiety and attention problems is through the roof. I just figured once I was able to find a method that worked for me, along with methods that worked for other people, might as well start working in that field. I always wanted to work in the field, but that's kind of what made me want to specialize in that. But I wouldn't be surprised if, there are plenty of people I know who are great psychologists, great therapists, but as far as like just general personality, are like whenever I bring my wife around to any event where there are a lot of other psych people there, she's like, "There's a lot of weirdos, a lot of weirdos at the conventions."
If you go to, I was talking to a friend about something totally. What was it about? A total different group of people. She was talking about meetups, and I forget what she did, a hiking meetup or something. And if you put together a group of people that only do one thing that you do,
Yeah.
you're going to get a wide spectrum of people. I believe in the normal distribution of, most things. I completed a PhD coursework in industrial psychology. I didn't get the PhD, but I studied a lot of that stuff. I took a lot of courses with clinical psychologists, and I believe in normal distribution. People, you take any group of people, they're going to vary in intelligence and in fundamental characteristics across the board. This is really hard listening to this. Does it stand up if I listen through the headphone?
Yeah.
For it. Okay, you tell me it's easier.
Yeah, go for it.
You might not be loud enough. I'm going to go back to this.
Okay.
Sorry, old people problems. I'm not
this
here.
Whatever's easiest for you. I'm enjoying the things that you're saying.
Okay.
No, I think it's so interesting about the normal distribution of that, because I definitely agree in my limited experience in the world. But like what interests me is the idea of I guess the multifinality of it, where it's kind of the same path that leads to different results, or same beginnings that lead to different results. And so it's like, what if there's a normal distribution among all just careers, for instance, there's a normal distribution among fields. What made each person go into a different field? And what's the overlap between the normal distributions of each one? And then trying to figure out that mean and what the majority of people are driven to one thing or another.
Listen, I studied psychometric theory, so that's a study of how you take human characteristics and try to do something with data. How to categorize it and analyze it, and whatever they're. I don't know if you're familiar with what's it called? Multiple linear regression analysis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to take many classes that I hated on that.
Yeah, and I taught statistics and I hated it,
Yeah.
and I still do, but I believe in it.
No, it's absolutely accurate. The thing I took away from stats and psych was, because I'm not a stats-minded kind of person, I'm great at creating experiments and analyzing the results that we have to generalize for the real world.
Yeah.
But all that in-between stuff, nope, no good for me.
You remember N or N plus 1 or whatever, degrees of freedom?
Yeah, plus or minus, yeah.
All that, and it one of my favorite books of all time was Foundation. You ever read it? Isaac Asimov?
Mm-mm.
So in it,
was that a Calvin and Hobbes book? Because I've read those.
No. Isaac Asimov was I think he was a PhD professor, a physicist, started writing science fiction probably in the 40s. He's probably written more sci-fi books back when I had my sci-fi reading phase. Yeah. But anyway, he wrote a book called Foundation, and in it, in the future, there was a field called psychohistory, and they could look at statistics from populations of people on planets, and not an individual, but they could look at a total group of people and kind of predict the future. And that's what we're kind of doing in that now with
that's accurate, yeah.
Pundits and whatever they do with during the political season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's the one. So I think psychology mixes well with everything in real life, just on your day to day. I think it's anyone who has even a cursory knowledge of psychology internally and when looking at the world externally, I think is fantastic. But some of the areas that psych can go, that two in particular, one is politics, and well, I guess the marketing of politics. I was going to say the other is marketing, but marketing in all aspects combined with, I guess, general psychology, I think is really important. It's like when I was telling you earlier, figuring out the podcast was the best way to use my mixed bag of small to moderate talents in one artistic piece. I feel like the thing that happens with me in the actual psychology field is that the thing I'm best at, which goes very underutilized because it's not really a need in the psych field, is I'm great at analyzing quote-unquote normal people or neurotypical people. Like, I'm good at figuring out what the average person is going to do. And so I feel like that is a skill that's rooted in psychology that's probably best for marketing, right? Like,
could be. There are a lot of fields that, honestly, if you're strong in anything, there's some field in which you can leverage them.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. And a lot of people end up, and myself included, up until a few years ago, they kind of ride that escalator of just the path that they're on, and they fall into something and they just keep doing it until they can't do it anymore. Then they fall into something else and keep doing it. And I feel like not enough people really look at themselves and say, where are my actual skills? What can I actually do? As opposed to, what have I been allowed to do for money?
So, in the comic field, there are an awful lot of comics that are good at drinking and saying really stupid crap when they're drunk and making other drunks laugh. And one of their drunk friends says to them, hey, you should become a comic. You're really funny. And then the stupidest thing on earth happens. They become a comic. And they call themselves a comic. And they come out to comedy shows that I'm at. And they do their drunken bar humor. And so half of the shows I go to are filled with a group of people whose entire routine, if you'll forgive me, well, you don't have to forgive me, you're not a comic. They have to forgive me if anybody hears this, is, it's hurting. I'm sorry. I'm going in a different place than I expected, but, there are a lot of people that really don't work at comedy at all, and they think I'm a funny dude, so I'm going to get up and be myself, and, and so audience, you pretend to be like drunken idiots who don't pay attention, and I'm going to say poop every now and again, and you're going to laugh, and that'll be our deal.
If they actually said
See?
poop as opposed to what they probably say, I think that would be funny. But
Well,
no.
they say a variety of things.
Yeah.
In my humor, I'll stick things up, but they never count. You know? Never mind. I shouldn't explain that more, especially with the little kid things around. How long have you been a therapist?
As soon as I've been able to. I did. See, I say therapist. That's the easiest way. I do individual therapy, group autism treatment, neuropsychological analysis, neuropsychological testing. What else do I do? I teach psych courses. But therapist is the easiest way to say it. That everybody kind of just knows what you're talking about. But a mix of those things since. I mean, I got out of undergrad in undergrad I got out of undergrad 7 years ago. Worked for a couple years, did grad school for 2 years, and then for the last 3 years, I've been 3 to 4 years been doing some combination of therapy and neuropsychological testing.
Okay, so how am I doing so far, buddy?
Wait, can you say it again?
How am I doing so far?
You mean like mentally?
Is there a
like
chance you think there's hope for me? Can you tell?
to make it in life or as a comic?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't. Then you know what? That answer.
You don't know me well enough to answer. You don't know me well enough to answer yet.
No.
It's been 15 minutes. I don't want you to say, Doug, based on my professional opinion. Let me tell you something. I've been doing therapy, straightening people out for as long as you've been doing comedy. You should find something else, Doug.
No, I like.
I love
your answer. Your answer of it doesn't matter to my question. That lets me know you're going to be just fine in both.
Or I forget. Oh, your what's her name?
Eric.
Is it? No, your daughter's name.
Oh, sorry. I cut out a little bit. I heard what's her name. My daughter's name is Juliet.
Juliet. Are you going to have a Romeo?
Jesus Christ. I just wanted
No. That would be good. Jesus Christ and Juliet. What are your kids' names? Jesus and Juliet.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You have to do that.
Well, now obviously. Well, it's weird because my last name is Navarro, and I'm not at all Hispanic. But Jesus would be. That would just confuse the shit out of everybody. Jesus Navarro would be like John Smith in Mexico. And,
so Navarro sounds like Southwest Indian.
Really? Well, that's because Navajo. But the I guess in Mexico Navarro is like Smith or James or something. It's a very common last name. And it's I guess also common in Spain probably maybe. But at some like. The Navarro side of my family is pure Italian, which means some Spanish dude banged my Italian great grandmother, and there's got to be some trace in there, because otherwise I wouldn't have the name.
Okay, so you know what part of Italy?
I want to say Sicily, but I could be lying to you. That could be just where my family vacationed once.
Where was it? I didn't hear.
I think Sicily.
Okay.
I think.
I'll be nice to you.
Why?
I have a good system. No, because
what wars did you fight in against my ancestors?
The expression. Oh, what war? It was called the War of
European aggression.
of my marriage. My ex was Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a small town 3 hours south of Rome.
And so you want to talk about that? Because I'd love to hear about it.
Well, you asked when I got into comedy.
Yep.
So the day I got the divorce papers in the mail, I knew they were coming. But the day I got them, we had known we were going to get divorced easily 10 years. For me, it was probably the entire marriage, but that's besides the point. So the day I got the divorce papers, I sent an email to my local comedy club and booked myself a new talent night that was coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and I had been wanting to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
But there were two things. If I did, it really got my ex angry. One was to be happy,
I was gonna guess be happy. Holy shit.
and the other
Yeah.
was to show any sign of my existence.
Yeah. Yeah, those two, you know what? That's really your fault. You shouldn't have had those two qualities.
I know.
I know.
So I take the hit on that one. But listen, I fell in love with my sons. I actually call them. I still do. Uh, so for me, I got to spend 19 years with both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your relationship with them like now? I guess, are they in college?
On
the streets?
Yeah, no, they're on the streets in college. One's in California studying engineering, the eldest. And then the youngest, the smart one, is at Temple, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. He's a freshman. So,
Well, I hear.
so I get to see my son in Philly. So I get to see him pretty regularly.
I was like, Temple has a really good underground DIY music scene. So if he wants to yell into microphones, he could definitely do that.
Well, his thing is skateboarding.
Oh, nice! That's awesome. I mean, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, he's been doing it since he was 6 or 7 years old, and he's really amazing. And he can, evidently right across the street from his dorm is a little quad where skaters hang out, and he's already hooked up with some of the guys that are on the the pro scene.
Yeah, Philly's a big skate town.
And he can keep up with them. He's been really focused on it. I built him a skate park on my driveway. I built him a 5-foot quarter pipe. He had,
wow.
I don't know if you know.
I know. I've skated for like 10
so
years,
I built him ramps and mani pads, a grinding rail, a jersey barrier. What do they call it where you stick a pole in the ground?
Stripper pole.
No, that was for another thing.
Okay, got it. That was indoors. That was an indoor activity.
No, they call it. God,
I actually don't know what that is. You could just be making shit up now and all the new stuff that I'm not aware of.
I think it's called a pole jam. It's just a pipe, and they'll ride up a pipe. They'll skateboard and slide up a pipe.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know what that's called. Sorry, I thought you meant straight up. I was like, what would you do on that? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's in an angle, so you can ride up.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, Eric, before I forget, so you're a new dad. Your daughter is now how old? 2 weeks?
2.5 weeks, yeah.
So after I had my first, a very good friend of mine gave me some advice on how to take care of my kids, relating to them crying. And he said to me, listen, this is what you do. When a kid cries, there are only like 5 reasons for it. They're wet, their diapers need to get changed, they're cold. Whoops. Sorry.
Everything okay?
I kicked over my ashtray. No big deal. Okay, so they're cold. They need to go to the bath. They need their diaper changed. They're hungry. They want to be held. What else?
They just goddamn feel like it?
They can get hot and too cold. One of the things men often do is they bundle them up too much because they, that's about it. So if they keep on crying, go through the list again. You forgot something. But there are only so many things their cries mean. So,
Well, that's good advice. Well, thank you.
Yeah. That's it. Whatever. I think it's the 5. Let's see. Hungry, cold, wet, lonely.
Lonely. That's why you and I cry. That's why you and I cry.
Yeah. They want to be held.
They just want to be held.
That's
it. Passy. Yeah.
It seems like there's a 5th. I don't know what it is.
That's what you get at the store when you feel lonely.
Yeah.
Jesus, that yeah was not. I was hoping for a lighthearted chuckle, not a oh fuck grocery list ad. Oh, where are you from? Where you live?
I live in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. I spent 15 years in St. Louis, where I went to school,
Okay,
and then stayed and worked for a while. And you?
I'm in Baltimore.
Nice,
Yeah. Yeah, I took a
nice.
trip up to Dirty Jers last summer. Went to Atlantic
Hey,
City.
hey,
What?
hey! What kind of talk is that?
What kind of talk is that?
Let me tell you something. You might come from Sicily. I know people from Sicily. You
I,
make comments like that about my state?
I know people is my favorite Italian thing that's ever been said. Like that's the oh my god. Hey.
What's your favorite Italian thing?
Oh, my dad.
Yeah,
No, my
that's a good
grandmother.
answer.
Yeah.
Does she
Uh,
have an accent?
no, my grandmother's not Italian. That was the easy answer, but I that wasn't accurate, so I couldn't say it first.
So do you have an Italian accent? Can you fake
No,
it?
I can't do an accent to save my life. And anyway, I can't even do my own voice practically half the time. Like it's not. Ugh. Me and voices don't go
Wait a
together.
minute. Wait, so you don't sing? Do you sing in the band or no?
I used to, and then someone else was like, "Hey, man, maybe you
You
should
sing
let somebody
horribly.
else sing." And so I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
Although I yell, like whenever I do, like right now I'm doing like an acoustic punk rock kind of side project thing for fun, where I just like make music on my own in my basement. And for that, I just yell, which is fine for the
Hey,
genre, and I got pretty good at it.
listen, if you ever need a backing saxophone to play like 4 or 5 notes,
Four or five
good.
really good ones, really good ones.
I wanted to tell you another story you reminded
Yeah.
me of. So, both of my sons took guitar lessons, and one of the instructors that they had for one had for like 2 years, evidently played at times in the Foo Fighters, like
Jeez.
he was a backup guitarist that they
Yeah.
used periodically, so he was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met him, I talked to him about one of my favorite songs being, what's it called? Yorma Kekkonen, Hesitation Blues.
Okay.
Do you know this one?
Not by name.
He was on Hot Tuna, Yorma Kekkonen.
Okay.
And anyway, so this guy, the instructor, told me that I think this is right, that Yorma used to teach guitar lessons, and he would start off with the kids, and he'd teach them to play one note, and they'd wanna, the kids would start wanting to be a guitar hero, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in their mind, they're, whoever, Jimi Hendrix, but he'd have them play one note. And whether it was an entire class or a week, his theory was if you can't play one note
Yep.
well, there's no point. So it was a very interesting way,
Yeah. No,
and
I
you get a kid.
absolutely agree. Completely. No, I think that's actually it's very common where people will want to start like going up and down the fretboard before they know how to play a single note. That's actually why I say that I'm good at bass. Like no one would have known I was good at bass the first 3 or 4 years I played it because I was so busy trying to get the play each note correctly
Yeah,
that when I would speed up or when I would try to do something more complicated, I wasn't satisfied until each note was played exactly correctly and I had full control over the dynamics of how loud or soft or the tone of the note. And that was all very important to me. So all of a sudden I went from nobody giving a shit to getting countless compliments about my bass playing, which is very rare for me musically to get a compliment, but like it would be like I would finally learn something complicated and it sounded correct because any asshole can just shred. Any asshole can go up and down the fretboard as fast as possible, but it's very, very rare to find somebody, especially like a bassist, for instance. Because let's be honest, a lot of people who pick up bass are doing it because it looks easier than starting guitar. And you don't really if you come in with that work ethic, it's not going to be the best. Um, but yeah, no, I completely agree with that method. I think that makes perfect sense. And I think more teachers should be like that. That's probably why. I mean, the guy was clearly talented and had a lot of good credits to his name. That makes sense why he was given those opportunities. That he knew it. He knew what he was doing. Okay,
yeah.
so I want to just some. just some general about your stand up. I wanna like so. How often do you go up now? It's been 3 years. How often do you go up, and how much time do you tend to do?
I'm probably I'm mostly doing, 8 to 10, something like that. I try to get up. I'll always get up in an open mic at least once a week. There have been months where I was doing it 3, 4 nights a week. And I've been getting show bookings, quote unquote show bookings, for maybe a year now, something like that. So, I'm at a point where it's going to keep on going, or I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's certainly not a business you get into to make money. And it's exactly the same in music. I have a good friend who's a musician, and at a certain point, you got to look. And so, for me to do, people don't understand this, for me to do 8 minutes in an open mic, so I drive an hour. I'm in 2 hour driving time now. You get there early. You listen to another, in a show it could be 6 to 10 comics, and an open mic it could be 20, 25. Out of courtesy in a room, you stay there most of the time. So I'm looking at, a 5, 6 hour investment in a night.
Hmm.
I remember one time it took me 11 hours. I drove, it was probably a 3.5 hour drive somewhere in Pennsylvania with a buddy.
Yeah.
And I got, a guest spot. So, you know, but I love doing it. I used to get really nervous before I went on. Now I end up shaking after I'm off.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because for those minutes you're really focused. For those minutes you're into whatever. So I don't know what I'm doing exactly. I've got a set I'm very comfortable with, and I can add to it and take away from it. And I write this every day. It's just, at a certain point, though, and I know a lot of comics go through this right now, I'm kind of into it, like, I want to get a little break. And it's not from doing the comedy. And it's not even the business of comedy. It's a lot of the associations you make through comedy are with pseudo-crazy people. So among the comics I know, I'm considered one of the saner ones, even though they give me a hard time about my comedy itself, because it's, I don't know how to describe it, but anyway, I'm like the adult therapist
Yeah.
to a lot of these comics around here, and it takes a lot of mental energy, as you know, listening to what's going on in messed up people's lives. And and most of the time, tell them to do things, but they've got to do it themselves. And there are some people that are, this close to totally helpless. And
I actually see that as a good
it's
thing
sad to
because
see.
a lot of people don't want to help themselves until they are totally helpless. Sometimes I find that, and this is in some situations, but in a lot of situations where I guess it's someone who can maintain, but they're still having trouble, just like in their daily lives. A lot of people will. It's almost like substance abuse or substance dependence, where it's like you need to hit bottom before you can really start helping yourself. And that's what I found with a lot of specifically anxious people that I know
Yeah,
who can keep it together, but at the same time, it's like they, or even just people who have like rapid cycling of emotions, but they confuse it with depression or bipolar, but it's really just rapid cycling of emotions, where it's like, and like I'm thinking some of those younger comedians who, or I'm thinking younger musicians that I know, they think they have depression or like panic attacks because they're having bad luck in their love life, or because their friends are drifting apart at mid-20s, or because they can't get the job they want, or because artistically they're not able to get the breaks that they want. It tends to be like none of them want to help themselves. They just want to spit it all out at you. And these aren't clients I'm referring to. I'm talking about like friends and people I know through art.
Yep.
They just want to spit it out at you and over. And it doesn't matter what you say or how much you listen. They're just going to keep doing it until they kind of hit bottom and then go, okay, now I got to start working on stuff. Which is why a common therapy, advice that established therapists give to starting out therapists, open micers, if you will, that they would say like, don't get discouraged when you tell someone something that's going to help them and they basically write it off completely, because a year from now, 2 years from now, they could come into your office and present the same idea you had and say that they did it. And as if you had, not as if you had never said it, but as if you had just said it to them the week before. Sometimes it just, people hear the things you say, even if they don't react to them.
Things click things sometimes click and sometimes they don't. And the real tough messages are ones, the tough ones are the hardest ones for people to act on, as simple as they are, because it means redoing, they are who they are. And a lot of people feel like, you look at the inertia you build up in a life, being whoever you are, getting to whatever spot you're in, and, to turn a life, it's a lot of inertia holding you back, a lot of crap.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. So
let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Are you in the last few years? Are you really happy? And by really, I don't mean sincerely. I mean really, as in extra happy. Is that?
I'm close to extra happy.
Yeah.
I'm happier than most people I know.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the woman of my dreams. So, and
this podcast is a good place to start.
Oh, hello, ladies. I've been looking seriously for maybe 2 years now, and I've gotten close, but it hasn't been right, and I've been looking seriously, not for. Listen, I wasted 20 years of my life. I didn't. I got 2 kids out of it.
I was going to say,
otherwise, but otherwise,
you put in
the
job.
That's one of the problems with online dating for me.
Do you meet women through comedy at all? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just so curious about how that works.
There's only been. I have to be careful how I say this. There've been women I've met through comedy. Neither of which will probably listen to this, although maybe one will. Maybe they both will. I don't know. So
they're huge fans.
So let me rephrase that. So there's one woman who I've met through comedy, and you know who you are, baby. It's too late. Can you edit out the part where I said 2?
I'm gonna laugh so right. I'm gonna laugh so hard when you get like 10 tweets like thanks babe, thanks babe.
That's a secret. Yeah. That's another secret. I actually call everybody honey or sweetie, and it saves a lot of trouble when you forget names. In online dating, online dating, it's how long have you been married?
What's today? The 12th?
Uh-oh.
No, actually I don't know what today is. That's the problem. I know when I got married. I don't know what today is. No, I've been married about coming up on 3 years. Been with my wife. We got together when we were 19, and then we broke up for like 2 years. So about 8 years total in the past decade.
And are you happy?
Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm a little tired. We've had, months 8 and 9 of pregnancy were rough, and then this is kind of a transition back to normalcy. Yeah, you're nodding your head.
You hope. You hope. Did your wife? Does she seem to have extra? Is she like extra irritable and persnickety post first baby?
But no, it was the last 2 months were the bad times because it was
Yeah.
just like, I mean, here's the thing. Here's how I have to compare it to with those months. This is how I give sympathy because I get so like I don't know, like if you're mean to me and I didn't do anything, I get very like, hey, cut it out. But I always think like, well, when I don't eat for a couple hours, I get a headache, and I'm a complete asshole. If
Yeah.
I had that 24/7, if I was that physically uncomfortable 24/7, I'd be a complete dick to everyone. I wouldn't be able to focus. The fact
Yeah.
that she was able to keep worrying, and so I'm like, okay, I get it. Things are definitely better post baby, a lot
Yeah.
by
Okay,
a
good.
long shot, like not even
Good.
close. Yeah.
Good.
We argued this morning a little bit because we both woke up and were irritable at 5 a.m. after not sleeping all night, and so that's why I'm like I'm monitoring my words because like right now I could like paint a picture of how I'm feeling in the moment,
Yeah.
but that's
Well,
like
I've been
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I've been there. Hopefully, I've been there with a very different woman than you're there with.
Well, that's the thing is like I think like I'm kind of an asshole too, so like it's all right. But
What do you
like,
mean,
no,
too? I'm not an asshole.
No,
I only
no.
seem that way.
not you. I meant me and my wife. Yeah, no, like but here's the thing. No, this is funny, and I'm glad we're having this open talk about it because this has nothing. I've been less happy recently, but it has nothing to do with my wife, nothing to do with my baby. In fact, that stuff's my baby especially has made me a lot happier. It's because I've had my rocky transition has been from realizing that I will never be able to financially successfully do music, nor do I think I even want to if the opportunity arises, just due to the travel and just due to the nature of it. Yeah, I'd love to sell a shit ton of copies of a record and stay home, but like that's not how it works. But like this transition into like my whole identity of outside of my responsible life has been all this music stuff, and it's also been where I've been able to go and blow off steam once or twice a week for the last over 12 years or whatever, and that's something that I can see is grinding to a halt, and not just because of the baby, because my own volition. And so I'm essentially now having this realization that I would have much preferred to be hanging with comedians, maybe doing stand-up, maybe not, definitely doing podcast stuff. And if that's my one, and it's so weird because it's like it's a regret I didn't know I wanted to do until 10 years after I'm when I like whatever. So it's like it's almost like I'm quote unquote making up for lost time in that aspect. But at the same time it feels like opportunities are shrinking. And so it's like, which is ludicrous for me to say to you because obviously you're making the most of your time and your like whatever
Listen,
delayed
I'm wrestling.
start.
I'm wrestling with you are. The only thing is, with my, if I even call it a start, I think of comedy like somebody who likes to go and make pots or do weaving or macrame or music or you just do something for yourself. And that's a really important thing. And in between me and you, I bet some of your drive to like hang out with comics, as you put it, is maybe part of a recognition that you'll hear a lot of crazy stuff doing therapy. In work, you work with people closely and get to know who they are. You realize people are really messed up. Like if it's not half the people, it's a good 30% of people they're really wired in a.
No, I got you. I, myself included, up until a handful of years ago. Absolutely.
Listen, knowing
Probably
that
still am.
Listen, knowing that you're not, knowing that you're not, you're not God. You got to get through world on your own with whatever you have.
That was a big shock too.
Is a very important thing. There are people that I went on a date. I didn't go on a date with them, but she told me that she heard a tree speak to her. I didn't go on a date with her, but I got a good comedy routine. I got a full comedy routine.
So you wouldn't date Jesus?
Well,
or was that Moses? My bad.
I'm not gay. I think the guys were great.
Well, it was a different time back then.
Listen, people talking about gay people. All the Bible. Are you a Bible? You couldn't be.
Yeah, take a guess. I'll give you two guesses.
So, well, people hide. We don't. So, they say there's a biblical prohibition against gayness.
Sorry, listeners can't hear my eyes rolling out of my head.
But no, but there is. It says in the Bible something like you're not supposed to do that.
Well, you're not supposed to lay with a man as you lay with a fish or whatever.
Well, that evidently is still legal in New Jersey. Laying with the fish.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Sleeping with the fish is, I think,
anyway,
in Jersey.
But people are, it's something different. People forget that if being gay was prohibited in the Bible, being gay is something that's been around for 6,000 years.
Yeah.
Or 10,000 years.
Yes, probably more than that. Yeah.
Longer, of course. Dolphins are gay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. God, they're so good. Only the gay ones. But there's that's what's so funny is the idea of religion in the Bible. It deals with the infinity, and when you deal with the infinity, the biggest parts of the Bible that people argue over today, specifically that, is almost it's all, and obviously these are issues nobody wants to touch, but the bigger issue is the concept that there are groups of people who live their lives as if they know what's going to happen after they die. And to me, it's kind of like the way, because I'm an atheist, and I know a lot of Christians who are just religious people in general, who are very scared, who get scared of the whole, well, if you don't have a code of righteous beliefs to live by, then what's to stop you from doing horrible things? And I was like, oh, me, conscience, morals, those kind of things. And so what scares me, on the other hand, with religious stuff, is that there are people who are just 100% certain that they know what happens after you die. And to me, that doesn't enhance the idea of human life. That diminishes it completely. And so it's almost... And
you see it every day. Who's against gays, for instance, more than
Chick-fil-A?
Is the Christian right? These are people that fundamentally turn the other cheek, the meek will inherit the earth, love your brother like yourself.
Yeah.
Except, I don't want to love my brother. Yeah.
Well, they refuse to let themselves jerk off, so they can't love their brother like they love themselves. That's kind of how it works, I think.
Yeah. Why?
No, and then they of course get caught with little children 10 years later. That tends to be how those politicians run out. Well, no, I don't know.
I'm with you. Listen. I
haven't had a leftist circle jerk this good since every other night of my life.
Yeah. I'm a.
Oh, I should mention I'm a
devout. Okay, well, I can still talk to you. I'm a devout atheist too. I actually was planning on being a rabbi when I went to college. Mm-hmm. And I took existentialism, and now I kind of believe in being and nothingness, a la Jean-Paul Sartre. I don't think about it day to day, and I told a Facebook woman, that I was an atheist, and she then wrote later to me that she had a hard time saying anything to me because I believe in nothing.
Huh. That's not what you believe in, though. That's not.
Well, nothing. I spoke to that point. I told her that I believe in plenty, and I didn't go so far as to say that that I had better morals than her, even though I was an atheist. But it's a very true thing. Many use religion to, not only horrible things they do, but get them out of feeling any guilt for the horrible things that they do. So, I turned out to be okay, despite,
I think
leaving and nothing.
I think you're
You know?
pretty level-headed with it. I don't
Yeah.
think I didn't see any bodies buried in your basement or wherever you've been going off to smoke, but I can trust that they're not there.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. All right. Well, so unfortunately, I have to wrap this up.
It's been
Um,
fun. It's been fun.
Dude. Thank you so much for coming on. I could definitely have gone on and on with this. Now, I'll hit you up about this later, but if you're interested, every once in a while, I'll send out a link and have just a bunch of comics come on the podcast and just shoot the shit about whatever. And I'd definitely love to have you on again.
I'd love to talk to you. It's been
All right,
fun.
cool. Well, thank you very much. Where can
Eric,
we find
it's
you
been a
with your
pleasure.
comedy? Yeah, definitely. Where can we find your comedy? What plugs can you give me?
Let's see. Facebook. It's Facebook /DMAX Stand Up.
And if you send me that link, I'll just post it along with the website.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right,
So
cool.
it's been fun. It's been
All
fun.
right.
Eric.
Well, I will catch you
Good
soon.
luck. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with the
You too.
sleeping and the baby.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
Juliet. Okay.
Aw, thanks.
See you. Bye.
All right, I'll catch you later. Bye.